only real carry on the team.
That's yeah. I agree. We're gonna have to watch to find out, and we're also gonna have to watch to find out how many mid lane bans, top lane bans are gonna come out. So we had four yesterday. We had the Rumble band away from Smitty J. We had the Fizz, the Hecarim, the Aurelia band. The swapping of sides now. I feel like gamers do have to depart from banning all top lane champions because they now know they give Ex Nihilo something as a first pick. The question is, what is it? It ain't gonna be Alistar.
Alistar taken away from Noxiac, and Jace will be banned away from Perks. Makes a lot of sense. Super strong on that champion last week. Sivir will be actually taken away from Crazy Caps. Crazy Caps is very much a late game AD carry player. Unless Ex Nihilo were looking for like a run at Yukon position, they have done a hard engage before. Usually hard engage to defeat.
Yeah, yeah, you couldn't put it better myself. Sorry, Pulse. But
no problem.
You know, Sivir, as you said, banned away. Now Kalista. Ex Nihilo had the option of first picking, and they don't take the Kalista. Are they looking to first pick the Ezreal here at this point? I mean, I don't actually like first pick Ezreal because of how big a statement it makes of going poke. So I don't think Ex Nihilo are going to do that.
Well,
but
we saw why it was bad
did
in the
play
last
it yesterday. Did play it yesterday. So it's kind of weird. There's a lot of top lane picks open and available here. Now one of them is off the board with Fizz not being available, but I don't even think first picking a top laner is all that worthwhile in the current situation. However, saying that, I would probably first pick Corki here. Niels has talked about it. Kalista Sivir away. Pick up the Corki. And there is very little you can do from the AD carry role on the opposite side to actually compete.
Very true.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, I can't argue with that logic, Stress.
Those are Niels' words, so if you want to argue with that logic, you take it up with Niels.
Yeah. I'll talk to him next time I see him in the studio. But yeah, we'll see what the first pick is from Ex Nihilo and what gamers to decide to pick into it. They're taking a long time to decide.
One day, I want that conversation to happen on broadcast, because it'll be the Statue of Liberty conversation with you like this.
At least it's not Mr. Alice. That's even worse, man.
Very true.
Ooh, okay.
Okay, so they do first pick a top laner. This is kind of weird. I'm just going to say it. Nobody is first picking Hecarim. In fact, Hecarim has started to fall off in the current meta just because, you know, ever since some of the changes to Cinderhulk, the changes to how the playstyle is in the meta.
And his E, yeah.
And his E. It's kind of become that Hecarim is an engage tool rather than actually kind of dominant top laner into most matchups. Still good into melee matchups, certain matchups. Not a bad pick by any stretch of the imagination, but you can see how long Ex Nihilo left to pick up their top laner as the first pick. They had nothing else that they wanted to prioritize.
But even when we did see a lot of Hecarim, he still wasn't usually first pick because unless you're banning Gnar, you're going to pick Gnar against Hecarim.
Of course, so, of course.
Yeah, and gamers too don't even need to pick it now. They can just wait, pick up their priorities, look at the Ezreal now coming in. Does this just signal exactly what they want? Will Ex Nihilo go all in on their engage, try and pick off the Ezreal now? That would make sense at least. Echo now comes in as well, presumably going to be jungle on Maximal?
Yeah, I would assume so. I think there are some safe pickups here that you can go for. You can go the Gragas Rek'Sai route here out of the jungle to pick up for yourselves. I guess if you take away the Corki here, which I feel like you have to, because gamers 2 at this situation aren't committed to poke, but they certainly have set themselves up for it. Yeah. So if you take away the Corki here, it now means gamers 2 have to kind of think twice about exactly what they want to run and run some kind of like hybrid composition. Those would be my estimations, but double tank setup has been picked up for Ex Nihilo. In fact, triple tank when you include the Hecarim in that as well. Now Gragas Nautilus. Going to be difficult for gamers 2 to chunk through. If they get a couple of magic resistance items under them, those True-Shot barrages are not going to be able to 100 to 0 either of any of those 3 players.
That's true, but this is under the assumption that the Ezreal goes mid lane. Because remember we saw Forgiven pick up Ezreal and put him AD carry as well. I mean,
right now there's no reason to assume that it isn't going mid lane because of what is available with regards to, as I said, I would imagine you pick up Corki here and just kind of play poke composition. Gamers 2 still have a lot of versatility. They're not locked into playing one kind of composition. The Na matchup, as you predicted, up into that top lane role. And Thresh, so they're not actually playing poke. This is kind of like a mix of catch and engage with poke aspects so far. I'm still...
Could this be a masterful bait stress where they're haha, it's not Ezreal mid?
I mean, I don't know. Without something that is going to scale very well into the late game, I don't think it's a particularly effective bait.
Gotcha.
Because it's like, take hard engage. Oh, we have no disengage. Well, great. Exactly. Yeah. It's like, it's not exactly the best strategy,
yeah,
I
at least
would
they
say.
baited them, right? I mean,
so
yeah, they got that down.
Now it's on Ex Nihilo, because Gamers 2, they're either waiting for their mid lane or their AD carry. Assumption on current meta trends would be they're waiting for their AD carry, but not a lot of teams last pick their AD carry unless you're going something like Vayne. If Ex Nihilo take away the Corki here, then we may see the swap around. They do take away the Corki and lock themselves a Twisted Fate. We talked to Senkux about Twisted Fate, about how strong he feels he is in the current meta, and real interesting that Ex Nihilo seemingly feel the same way without any kind of low mobility carry to try and lock down at this point.
That's typically what you want to kill the Ezreal there.
You do.
And that's, you know,
yeah,
perfectly fine. There's the Corki you're talking about, though. Stress. It was picked very late into the picking order, though. So, I mean, Gamers 2 had the chance to pick up the Corki all the way along here. So what AD carry did they go for?
That is quite... They're flicking over mid laners, and actually Azir is available at this point. To think of what Perks has played, Jason Azir. So there are still other options here for Perks for what he's comfortable on. So it's...
Look at that.
It does get locked in. Okay, so it is an Ezreal AD carry. Taking it away from the possibility of Ex Nihilo playing it mid. As I said, they had that versatility, but I don't know how I feel about picking Azir into the Twisted Fate. Azir typically will have a decent laning phase and presence when it comes to tower pushing as a group, but we've seen the Twisted Fate being played into Azir specifically by Senkux because of how good it is at getting into the backline of a fight, deleting the enemy carry, trading your own life away, and just kind of that's how the fight goes. And at that point, you've taken one carry out in exchange for the other, and the rest of the team follows up. That's what we saw Ryu do versus SK for H2K. So if that happens again, we've already spoken about how much of the team's damage Perks is as a mid laner. If he's not in the fight, how do Gamers 2 win those fights? What we have to see.
It's exactly what Defisher was talking about, where you trade your threats away, and it's just like, well, we have another threat, you don't, and then we just win.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, we've got the Hecarim now onto Morsu. He'll be playing against Na, which will be a difficult matchup. Interesting to see if they'll go for a lane swap at all. They do have the Corki up against the Ezreal in the bottom lane. This also does deal with the problem you were talking about earlier, where if they did have the Ezreal, then they wouldn't have, like, late-game scaling if they put him into the AD carry role. Now they have the Azir. So when you look later into the game, they'll at least have something.
Yeah, they will have something available, but has had to take the cleanse as well to get out of that gold card. Yeah. So it makes it more difficult for Godzuki to get into the backline and lock him down. But certainly the Hecarim will play into getting into the backline as well. That's another aspect from the Ex Nihilo composition that is going to be fairly good at doing that. So I imagine Ex Nihilo are going to throw everything but the kitchen sink at Perks and try and lock him down in these fights. Perks will offer disengage to himself, though. So cleanse, Emperor's Divide pushes everybody back.
Well, have Gamers 2 built in enough disengage, though? Because it was obvious what Ex Nihilo were doing, because they were trying to counter out the Ezreal, but have they just also, by proxy, countered out the Azir just because they picked it in?
Well, I feel like Gamers 2 have excellent counter engage. Yeah. You've got Na when he gets into Mega Na. Parallel Convergence will zone out the rest of Ex Nihilo. If everybody doesn't make it through that Parallel Convergence, you've got just amazing ability to lock people down in one area. And Flay will do a little bit box to disengage as well. Very soft disengage when it comes to it, but it'll all help. It'll all help the cause. Well,
that's our opinion. Now we want to hear yours. So hop on Twitter, tweet at LOLesports, and get those hashtags in G2 win or EXN win if you think Ex Nihilo will take home this game. I'll be checking in with those results during the game.
Yeah, I will be checking in on this Azir as well during the game. That's what I'm looking forward to. Perks back on Azir. Perks is back. We've had a couple of good games from Perks on Azir. We'll see whether he can do it again.
All right, let's get into this one. Ex Nihilo now onto the blue side, sporting onto the Rift up against Gamers 2. Now, spotting this Azir pick onto Perk, swapping the Ezreal into the AD carry. So not throwing it mid lane this game, so we're not going to be seeing a Ringglaive from the mid lane at least. May see it elsewhere. Unlikely Impaler's going to pick one up, but maybe Maxlot. And everyone gets on to the Rift. Will we see any early game action so far? Judging by the patterns of where everyone is running, I'm going to go with not so much.
Not so much right now. We'll track that, but I don't imagine anything that early on from these two teams. So Jesse and Crazy Caps down in this bottom lane. Ezreal and Corki, man, this feels like we've gone back a long, long time. To the, you remember the Trinity Force of AD carry?
Yeah, welcome to Season 2?
Yeah, Season 2. Season 2, it was all Ezreal, Graves, and Corki. It was all you could play. Then all the other AD carries ended up getting released, and Lucian came out.
Yeah, and then the Lucian
Kalista
Nation
came
attacked,
out.
and then Lucian was everywhere.
And then everybody remembered that Sivir got changed and got really awesome as well. So
yep.
A lot of things happen to Ezreal.
Strategic
Corki.
diversity.
But it's okay, because Worlds is coming, so Corki's making a comeback.
It's Worlds.
Oh, it is Worlds, Pulse. It really is. But at this point, it's not Worlds. This is EUCS Week 3,
yeah.
Day 2, Game 2.
Summer split, yep.
Yeah.
Great pigeon impression by Perks in the mid lane. Do you have the biscuits being picked up by Godzuki, actually up towards the boot start on the Twisted Fate in the mid lane. The Azir was picked into the Twisted Fate. We've been seeing... oh, that's interesting. I can't do that. But yeah, Faker we saw earlier is picking Irelia into Azir. We've been seeing that. Even still been doing that. Something that confused me is he has the option to pick Ezreal and then doesn't pick Ezreal. And then like Faker played so much Ez back in the day and then just didn't do it. It's like, why? Come on, man.
Hipster Faker. I was playing Ezreal before it was cool. That's... probably not how it went. It was probably more like, I think this pick's a lot better in this situation. But who knows? Who can really tell what is going on in that godlike mind of mid lane?
He's an android. So Godzuki in this mid lane, trying to get some harass into Perks. Meanwhile, in the top lane, mostly looking to do the same onto Smitty. This is typically a matchup that that Gnar should win, but the early camp was picked up by Morsu, meaning he got the early level 2 for the early advantage. But over time, Smitty may be able to whittle him down. Bot lane, Noxiac just get hooked in by Hybrid. There's the Flake. Jesse not too interested in landing the autos just yet, as Crazy Caps is trading off against him. So some back and forth auto attack trading in the bottom lane. Nothing to write home about. Jungle though, Maxlot on this Echo did start on the top sides of the map, maybe looking for an early game gank. Seeing a lot of Echo out of the jungle recently, as well as the solo lanes. And Impaler on Gragas. Picking up the crab as well, when we back into his jungle. Yeah,
Impaler and Maxlot in an EUCS game. That's something I didn't think I'd see all that much. Hybrid didn't think he'd see that hook connecting, but it did. So maybe he should go to the opticians, get himself
should have gone to Specsavers.
Exactly. But yeah, Maxlot and Impaler. These are two players out of the UK scene that we have seen play against each other time and time again, and it's nice to finally see it happen here, because I think when it comes to UK players, specifically out of the jungle, I think Impaler has been the biggest name for jungle. Because Sing has been by far the biggest name for support, but maybe we'll see Maxlot unseat Impaler in this one. Maybe.
We'll see. We'll see, Stress. There's still a lot of time to go.
I mean, you won yesterday.
Yeah,
and then again, Dan's in the mix now as well, and Dan did kind of out-jungle Impaler when Mouse played Ex Nihilo.
Yeah,
so
I didn't even think of it.
There's national pride on the line
what about
in
all
EUCS.
These UK junglers coming out. Cool to see. Especially with Team Dignitas EU as well now being full Danish. So we're seeing a lot of national pride across the board. Jesse and Hybrid. New AD carry and support bot lane in terms of the duo. Before we had Hiva. Jesse played with him for a while at least. Saw him at the Nordic Open. Impaler sitting in this bottom lane. What are you looking for? Looking for a gank for sure. Gonna take a drink. It's getting quite thirsty in the bottom lane. Not a whole lot happening. He's waiting for Hybrid to go forwards. There's the flash. Where's the hook? There's the hook. Actually comes in from Hybrid. Gets it down onto Noxiac. Drags him into the minions. Jesse's gonna wait for a second before returning back to lane. That's a flash. So, successful gank from Impaler.
So, a reminder, we're on 5-12. The changes did go through to Gragas. Only very slight changes as well. It was slightly less sustained early game when it comes to going around the jungle. The slow was changed slightly as well. This was a couple of weeks back, so nothing really to take Gragas out of the top of the meta. That was one of our big discussion points, was it enough to make Rek'Sai pickworthy over Gragas when it comes to picking the first jungler into the mix? Seemingly no from what we've seen in today's picks and bans, and the picks and bans just over the last few weeks.
Yeah. Answer, no. Maxwell, though, is taking this opportunity while he knew Impaler was in the bottom side of the map to take away the Grump. In a couple of seconds, you'll see him disconnecting and reconnecting. It's all been sorted out. Don't freak out. Morsu in this top lane, level 5, has pretty much survived this early game pretty well against Smitty. There's only a very small advantage in terms of CS. Morsu going to walk into this bush, finds Maxwell. How's it going? I'm going to be jumping over here with the phase dive. I'll be walking away. And also procs his Raptors, but there happens to be a ward.
Is he paying attention?
No.
Maxwell! Maxwell, no!
We gotta go back!
Oh dear. Well, I guess when it procs on one, and you think, oh, man, I'm not getting that Raptor buff efficiency, you don't kind of expect to, but lesson be learned, attack move, people.
That's the greatest thing, like when you have a trinket and you see they have Raptors and you just place it in front of them.
Oh, I hate that.
Wrecked.
I hate that. That's like the most frustrating thing. When Raptors gets popped for nothing.
Yeah.
Ugh, all this efficiency I'm missing. Oh yeah, that's a pet peeve for me.
Yeah.
And the other, yeah, it's, yeah, I'm gonna go off on a rant if I keep talking about that. So I'm gonna switch focus back to the game because that's a big point of contention. But a big point of contention for Gamers 2 has been Perks, and in this mid lane, he has gone back. He's picked himself up the Forbidden Idol there as well. So no real big power spike coming out. But interestingly enough, the other side of the rift, Ionian Boots of Lucidity coming out very early on for Twisted Fate. So that's going to allow him to push out Perk's lane again and again to allow Twisted Fate to roam more often now with a cooldown reduction on his ultimate as well. So not a particularly standard first pick here by Godbro, but I can see the reasoning behind it.
Yeah, because if you think about it, the cooldown on a level 1 Twisted Fate ultimate is very long. And once you use it, then you're not going to be able to do it for another couple minutes. Now that he's got it this early, he'll have another one way sooner than before. Yeah,
and the other thing is he's less inclined to rush a mana regen item because of the blue cards. He can just kind of sustain himself up. It's not particularly amazing when it comes to always having a completely full mana bar, but if you are pushing out, it does give you a good platform to work from with just wild cards getting the mana back again and again.
Very true, very true. Top lane, we've been talking about it, like there was a lot of focus on Morsu last game.
Yeah.
There was a lot of focus on mid lane as well, but Morsu has always been this like solo 1v1, I'm going to push, I'm going to try and carry from the top lane, but has gone for the Hecarim here. So I'm interested to see if he'll like stay in the top lane for the one-on-one or he'll actually like assist the team in fights.
Well, I
guess he has to do the former, right?
I feel like he has to at least get into the fights as well, though, because they're so reliant on the latter. Sorry, he's so reliant on getting to the back line and actually shutting people out of the fight that I don't know if there's too much else he can do on the map. Especially when you consider that this was the first pick Hecarim coming out from Ex Nihilo. And Gamers 2 did not prioritize any top lane bans other than the Fizz, so they felt like whatever that Ex Nihilo picked for their top lane, they had something to easily just go up against it. In this case, it's the Gnar, which is a very standard matchup. So you have to feel like Ex Nihilo, they kind of had a weird picks and bans strat again.
Oh, Morsu with the one-on-one, but takes the tower shot and he's in with all these minions, gets the first blood, but wait, the cannon minion is looking for blood. Morsu stays alive and gets him in the one-on-one, had the ignite, by the way, so Smitty J got just outplayed.
Smitty J was trying to buy enough time to get into Mega Gnar, but he was a couple of auto attacks, or at least rage points away from getting it, so took a really weird trade, just got clipped by the corner of the scythe animation. And that's why you put Morsu in your team.
Yeah.
Because Morsu knows these matchups. He's able to work very well, even given little resources. He will always find a way to work his way back into the game. That's what we saw last split with the Copenhagen Wolves Academy. And from it, Ex Nihilo are now able to put themselves in front of their first major objective of the game in the Dragon.
That's always been Morsu's biggest strength, is the one-on-one outplays, being super strong in his lane, but we've always seen him lack when it comes to team play.
Right.
Like he's very much stick in my lane, kill my opponent, be better than them. Saw him, and actually a stat you delivered last split stress was how he's always up 40, 50 CS by the end of the game on his lane opponent. The question is now, has he adapted so that he can offer something to the team as well? Because it's great killing your opponent one-on-one and pulling them into submission, but then if he joins as a team and it's a 4v5, then great.
Well, to be honest, and to be quite frank, he has to adapt to that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll quote Forgiven in an interview we had on LCS a couple of weeks ago. The mark of a top player, of a good player, is the ability to adapt. And that's exactly what Forgiven's done with adapting his champion pool. And now Morsu doesn't seem to have adapted yet.
Doesn't seem to be adapting to getting ganked right now. There's the Emperor's Divide, but Maxlaw comes in for the kill with the auto. Godzuki teleports in, but immediately regrets his decision. Impaler comes in to try and bail him out with the barrel roll. Gets the damage on Smitty, jumps in, smashes him down with the ultimate. Godzuki dropping low, turned around with the stun card. Double kill comes out for the Gragas. A 3-for-1 over to Ex Nihilo in total.
Very, very precarious position in that setup. It looked for a while like Godbro would put himself in a really awkward position. Flash in from Noxiac.
Can't escape the Nautilus. Looking for the hook. Can he get in range? Not
just
quite.
Too long on the cooldown. Just too long on the cooldown of the hook. He did get the reduced cooldown from hooking the wall, but it wasn't enough to allow him to hook again. But at this point, as Godbro looks to teleport into the fight, Morsu's already so low. And look at where the parallel convergence was set up. Maxlaw can't proc it, though, under the tower to lock Godbro down. So now the Wild Goose Chase is on. Impaler has more damage than Smitty J expects. One cask to rule them all, I suppose, is the factor there from Impaler. And double kill for Impaler is a great start to that 2-for-1 trade on that overall.
Hybrid.
Where are you going?
Why are you there?
How did you get here?
I guess we had to like CSI this one, go full investigation on his position. So he dies
warding.
Warding.
I'm putting.
And everyone closed in around him, it looks like.
Hybrid has been charged with warding solo in front of Raptors and is guilty as charge. Impaler now has to back himself away as Maxlaw is getting himself out.
That's his blue though, but 86% over to Gamers 2 over Ex Nihilo. It wouldn't be that if it was Denial. It'd be somewhat closer, I'd have to feel, but still, the advantage in this game going over to Ex Nihilo. Godzuki in the bottom lane. Gonna get harassed down onto Jesse. Maxlaw, however, has found Noxiac, doesn't get the parallel conversion stun down. Will come up with the Z-Drive resonance damage. And Noxiac wanders out very slowly. We'll be able to get this ward away as well. But I feel like this is probably the first time we've seen Ex Nihilo with a significant early game lead. Or lead at all. Ever.
Yeah, I actually would go along with that sentiment. I mean, they've had minor leads in a couple of the games, but I certainly feel like this has been a far more controlled early game out of Ex Nihilo than it has been out of previous games that we've seen from them. Hybrid's ward, does it pay off? It does!
A death sentence onto Crazy Caps, gets the flay as well, but he just doesn't have anywhere really to go. And Perks will come in, get in with the spears, get in with the Sand Soldiers, and picks up a kill.
Hybrid's past transgressions have been forgotten. Proven innocent with that ward. It was the one on Raptors, and it gets a kill for him.
But who is he? Is he just Dread handing out death sentences?
I guess so.
Wow.
He is the law.
Judge, jury, and executioner. Hybrid, 2015. Maxlaw, gonna be taking Hybrid's free service.
Free service, just the Thresh Express?
Yep.
Man, the economic times.
I know, right?
There's an age of prosperity in Summoner's Rift when public transport is free from Thresh.
Not bad, eh?
Point.
Yeah.
I mean, like, by the looks of it, you have to pay in souls. I mean, I guess it's not exactly a currency, but it's
all right. Sacrifice your soul for a free
It's a pretty
trip.
morbid exchange on that point, that you have to collect other people's souls in exchange to power up the Thresh Express for a journey. But nevertheless, that's
pay the bill somehow.
I guess that's how it is. But how it is for Perks right now is fairly even on his lane when it comes to CS, but you can see the effect that he's been able to get himself involved in as many kills as Godbro has, or Godzuki has. And Godzuki is the one with the global ultimate. get himself across the map. So Godzuki not yet kind of using that all that well to his advantage. Got involved in the first set of kills, so there is that to be said. But we haven't really reached the point in the game where he's able to split push on his own yet. So I'm not expecting all that much more from Godbro within the next couple of minutes.
Yeah, I also wonder whether we're going to see a 1-3-1 from Ex Nihilo using Morsu and then Godzuki in the lane, and just having this disengage with
I
the
expect
tanks.
so.
Yeah.
Here we
Top
go.
lane. Can he get a range flash from Smitty? It's going to be Godzuki who's tanking the turret. Noxiac is the one who's going to be tanking it now. Morsu coming in from the back, gets them with the rampages and the follow with the damage, but Noxiac's going to take another tower shot. He's just going to have to farm the minions, and Smitty J gets a kill 1-on-3.
I mean, that's a Gnar with basically full Gnar bar. You know that he's going to trade that evenly with you, so they get a turret for it, but now they trade away the mid turret in exchange. So this somewhat makes the ability to 1-3-1 a little bit less effective now from Ex Nihilo, because without mid turret, it means Gamers 2 can establish vision around the middle of the map a lot easily, and allows them to set up engages. So it's an even trade, but I actually favor the map control for Gamers 2, because now they're able to set up for this dragon.
Walled over the wall. Impaler does have a bead on it. Max Law and Hybrid over the wall. Does he go damage down? Jumps in. Can he get the steal? He gets it! Does he have a way out, though? Oh, Max Law's going to drop low. He's going to have to use the Chrono Break to recover his HP. Impaler back over the wall. The rest of the team is there to support him. Jesse is charging up the Truth Shot Barrage and nets Impaler as he tries to get away. Stood still almost long enough for Godzuki to take him down, though. But still, that's a dragon for a kill, and Ex Nihilo will take that any day of the week.
Yeah, second one in the bank. Impaler says, Max Law, yeah, no, you've got to still outsmite me if you want to be the UK's best, because Impaler, that's one of the things he's been known for, and we'll take another look at it. This was blind after the ward died, so last read that Impaler has is at 2,000 health. So he goes in, is able to disrupt Max Law with the body slam, and get the damage onto the dragon to get the smite, and flash out. Okay, he dies to Godbro, but that's outside of this hypothetical 1v1 national thing we've got
just
going
cut it
on
off here.
Yeah, just stop it before that. But I mean, that again, that's a trade that Ex Nihilo will take. However, mid lane, there was a trade, and then teleport got cancelled by Morsu, so we didn't quite catch the beginning of that. But Morsu reading the situation, knowing he didn't want to go in.
We're going to have to CSI this as well. The dead TF in the mid lane, no tower there. Looks like he was just caught out.
Looks like it. I think that's a fairly open and shut case at this point, as we take a look at the kill. Okay, so no CSI required on this one. Yeah, that's Godbro just pushing up.
Yeah, from the security camera footage, we can see Godbro was overextended.
No people are putting ham in the server on this one. It's not quite as good security footage, but one thing I kind of wanted to touch on was up in the top lane, if we get a second, with regards to itemization. Black Cleaver completed first by Smitty J is something that some Gnars have done. It gives you a lot of potency in mini Gnar, but without the Frozen Mallet being built first, you don't have a lot of survivability, and that is where the 3 deaths have really come from with Smitty J. If he'd prioritized the Frozen Mallet first, he'd be able to work effectively against the Hecarim still. That's what we have kind of come to get used to in the Gnar Hecarim matchup, and he'd be more survivable with all of this pressure we've been seeing. So he's eventually going to get both. It's just a perhaps more risky build path that we're seeing.
Yeah, Morsu was taking advantage of that so far in this lane as well, even one-on-one. It's been pretty difficult. Impaler, though, going for this next blue buff, will be handing that over to Godzuki. 2-0 in Dragons currently. The game is even in terms of gold, but obviously the hidden stat is those Dragons. Ex Nihilo definitely still have control over this game, but it is still very even. You can see that even from the vision control. It's just all up and down the river. Interesting enough, there's a little bit more red vision in the bottom side of the map, just because the tower is down. But that was interesting. Teleporting horse. He's away.
Had upgrades.
Yeah. He's taken a page out of Max Law's book.
I must admit I've not seen that happen before. So that seemed new to me from Gamers 2, but certainly the ult was on the way of getting himself out. That was
it would have gotten them regardless, because you are not interruptible. Godzuki.
Looked a little bit like Lissandra Claw.
Yeah.
The way it went. Okay, so
I'm Lissandra now.
I mean, it kind of will still a little bit weirdly with Gamers 2, but they want Morsu now.
Well, he's a one-trick pony. He can't pull that trick twice, and will get blown up by Gamers 2 as they follow up onto Noxiac and Impaler as well. Perks over the wall with the Emperor's minions, allowing him to get into position. The flash, the death sentence does not connect.
Crazy Caps putting a turret down in the bottom side of the map evens up the trade on objectives. The kill goes in favor of Gamers 2, and they've managed to pick themselves up kills here and there and have brought themselves into a kill lead and a slightly down in gold. Every other real metric other than Dragons is basically even between these two teams right now.
Yep, very true. Gamers 2 have just gradually evened up the game just through small skirmishes over Ex Nihilo. Taking a look at some of the items as well. Haven't really touched on those apart from the Black Cleaver in the top lane. Perks has now gone for the Rabadon's Death Cat. Actually not going for Azonia's Hourglass at all here, despite the amount of CC that will be going on top of him, especially with the Morsu as well. He's just going for pure damage, just confident that he can blast people away with the Emperor's Divide, I guess. Yeah,
and the cleanse on top of him. At this point, his disengage should be enough this early on in the game where it's not a super extended fight. So he should just be able to push people back, and kind of that's the end of it. You'll probably see him prioritize Azonia's Hourglass as his third item, I would imagine. Very similar probably with Twisted Fate as well. So that when you go in, get that gold card down, get the damage, then use Zonia's. That is probably what we're going to see in this setup. But Double Trinity Force has been completed, though, on Ex Nihilo, meaning that they will have a fairly obvious power spike when it comes to things. This is roughly their time to fight, but they've found Morsu alone.
Yeah, Morsu caught out here will be ultimating right into Hybrid and Maxlaw, who will happily assist for that kill. And that will be going over to Perks. Morsu just getting caught out.
And this is the prevalence of mid towers being down, is Gamers 2 have set this vision up very well, so they know when to take fights. This one they know there are 4 people from Ex Nihilo around. No need to take that fight, but Morsu pushing out on his own when you see people on the catwalks on your wards, definitely a time to engage, because Morsu's never going to be able to stand there and take it.
Well, this is the concern, because Morsu cannot just sit in a lane and split push anymore. All of the outer turrets are down, which means he has to roam.
Right.
And this is an alien situation to Morsu, I guess. And just gets picked up by Gamers 2, who just move around as a unit. This is the 3rd dragon of the game. Can Impaler just steal this one as well?
Well, if Morsu's up, teleport wards are available behind Gamers 2, and I think they know it here. They're standing on that crab ward, though. Impaler can't get there in time.
Oh, doesn't get stolen this time around. 2-to-1 dragons, but that's a big Gragas barrel, and the Ezreal ultimate comes across. The rest of the team is already dropping low, and Spitty J will be taken down. Jesse, now caught in the middle of the pit, just tries to kill the ward. He knows he can't kill Impaler. Morsu now chasing down Perks. Will he get taken out? Yes, he will by the Conquering Sands. Impaler and Godzuki still following after, but you can't outrun a gold card. And Godzuki will take him out with the last auto. 10-8 in terms of kills, a 5-for-1 for that dragon.
And that is a trade that Ex Nihilo are going to take all the time. Only the first dragon of the game going over to Gamers 2, and there was such an important factor in this fight. And if we get a replay, I want to kind of look at the lower side of the fight, how Morsu comes into the fight. But look at Ex Nihilo now. Obviously, they have a big amount of, a large amount of time where the death timers were still ticking up. Only really Maxlaw coming out now, but look at the health bars on Ex Nihilo. They are quite low. Noxiac very nearly dies from this. Can Maxlaw stop this Baron attempt?
Well, there's the Time Winder, there's the Ezreal ultimate as well, and the steal from Maxlaw. Give me that one. Godzuki now with this trade is going to die.
Oh,
Maxlaw, 1 on 4?
Yes,
Picked
he
up
can.
3 of those kills. Wipe the floor with Ex Nihilo. That was an extremely risky Baron, and Morsu is the only one remaining. Has a Chrono Broke to safety there, but yeah. Who's the best UK jungler now?
Hey, Maxlaw says yes, he can, jumping into the pit and taking away the Baron. Ex Nihilo, very, very risky play going for that Baron. They had just set the game up for themselves. They get the ace. They could have looked to go pretty much anywhere and get objectives from it, or at least set the map up for themselves. I actually would love to have seen where the mid lane wave was at, but again, Ex Nihilo seem to be in control of a game, and they make a very short-sighted decision on what can we get right now that is going to benefit us in the short term, rather than going, hey, look, we can get a turret and look to back from this. and maybe take something else. So I kind of want to see where the minion wave is. It's actually just barely pushing for them, but look at Morsu heading into this fight. Gets onto Jesse, half health sim already. Keep an eye, bottom side of your screen. It's just happening off screen as Perks is being kept busy by Morsu. Morsu has single-handedly dealt with both carry threats from Gamers 2 in this setup. Yes, he ends up dying for it, but look, minion wave is just in the middle lane. You can shove that through and go take a turret. Rather than playing for a risky Baron play, there was all the time in the world to take that turret down, and they get greedy and go for the Baron. And at that point, Maxlaw, this is an easy decision to make here. Impaler doesn't get the smite down. He wasn't, by the looks of it, expecting the true shot barrage. It was at 500 health while Impaler was in the Baron pit and could have stolen it, and no, could have secured it for himself. And Maxlaw comes up huge.
That was just exceptionally well played by Gamers 2 to clean that up, but also, again, as you mentioned, a short-sighted decision by Ex Nihilo, which has characterized them over the last couple of weeks, where they make a decision which seems great at the time, and then bites them in the rear later the game goes on. And this time, very, very soon after they made the decision. Now, at the bottom turret, they're going to try and defend this. Should be able to do so. Not sure if there's enough poke just yet from Gamers 2 to siege this turret, but they do have the Baron buff.
Yeah. They're not going to be able to take this, not without at least a good position for Smitty J, which they don't have wards in position for it either. So they know they can't commit to the tower. So this is going to be a Baron buff that is kind of probably going to get ground out from Ex Nihilo at this point, with about a third to a half of the duration on it down. So this Baron hasn't particularly won the game itself for Gamers 2, but the momentum shift that has come from it has absolutely frozen Ex Nihilo out of this game for now. I mean, Gamers 2 are likely to even the dragon count up when the next one comes up in 1 minute 50. And from there, that it's so difficult for Ex Nihilo to play towards a 5-dragon win without making sure they secure every single one of the next subsequent dragons as it spawns.
It's going to be tough, and yesterday we saw a very similar story where Ex Nihilo got the advantage. This time they got it in the early game. Last time they got it around the mid game, and Gamers 2 were able to punish Ex Nihilo's mistakes and over-aggression onto objectives. This time it was the Baron, last time it was the 5th dragon. The question is, will Ex Nihilo continue to make these mistakes?
Well, in the team fights, one thing is for certain. If Ex Nihilo don't get perks to start, it's just a very difficult team fight for them. However, if they do kill perks, Jesse has opted for a lower damage build when it comes to things with the blue build of Ezreal, and Gnar has opted for a slightly higher damage build when he's in mini Gnar form. So with perks off the table theoretically, Ex Nihilo should be able to kind of maintain their damage output for the rest of the team fight if the engage goes as they need it to, which if some buts, but we'll see.
And currently, Smitty J, Morsu has found his split push that he wanted, but it's actually from Smitty J instead. Impaler goes for the engage. Will work out though. Perks drops low, jumps over the wall. Will continues to survive. Maxlaw jumps into the back lines and Will uses Chrono Break to get back to safety, but he's still being pummeled out by Crazy Caps, who gets the shutdown. Smitty J was able to take down Noxian, now coming into the fight. Morsu has followed suit by coming in with the ultimate, gets perks, comes past the soldiers, but now Impaler is cut off from the pack with Godzuki. Morsu comes in and runs down the support of the Fresh. Jesse jumps over the wall, looking to continue the kite. Smitty J jumps in with the Mega Form, but will also die. Jesse will have to jump away from this fight before the gold card is lit up by Godzuki. And Ex Nihilo come ahead in that fight.
With the dragon spawned as well, this should be a fairly clean-cut decision for them to take it. Only the True Shot Barrage can contest this. And this team fight was all, again, from Perks. This time he didn't die. He was just forced out of the fight. He had to cleanse Flash out over the wall and then stop outputting damage for a big portion of this fight before Morsu came in. True Shot Barrage!
Wow.
Oh! He stole it with a Q! Wow! Oh, Impaler had...
It doesn't matter if you die here.
Did Impaler not smite that? Or did he smite early?
It was off cooldown.
Like, did he smite during the fight, I guess, is what I want to see. Because... Oh, Maxlaw's cleaning up.
Yeah, he's just killing everyone. Double kill comes out again. I think everyone was just kind of scrambling after that Dragon take came out. Let's take a look at that fight which led up to that dragon, though, once again, as Perks starts off this one. Lots of zoning going on before this initiation by Impaler.
Yeah, so Perks at this point, the barrel doesn't blow him backwards, so he's still by the wall and is able to cleanse out of the hard crowd control and just flash up and get himself out with the old switcheroo with Hybrid from there. And Maxlord can't really do too much after the beginning of this fight, and Smitty J has so much damage. Watch him come into this fight as well. Doesn't hit the boomerang, but is able to output a lot and just build his rage bar, but it's not quite as potent as Morsu's to start this fight. And Gamers 2, just without Perks, can't close this fight, but I guess in the end they just will take the dragon from Jesse just picking it up.
Yeah, Perks had locked himself in the Emperor's castle. Do Emperors have castles? I guess they do. But yeah, coming in with this dragon,
a new groove.
And it's just a Mystic Shot, right? Yeah.
Yeah, no smite available for Impaler. It's as clear as that.
And nobody was blocking.
Nobody blocked. Knowing they saw the True Shot barrage, nobody blocked it.
Yeah, that was just a straight-up oversight.
Two massive blunders from Ex Nihilo in front of objectives.
Objectives, following that, yeah.
Objectives that they should either A, easily have taken in the Dragon, or B, probably shouldn't have tried to take in the Baron, where they could have gone for other options. Again, it's short-sightedness on Ex Nihilo. And
Noxiac has been caught out along with Godzuki. Morsu uses ultimate defensively and says goodbye to his friend, who had died for his sins there. And now G2 will go for this Baron. Have been lit up by Godzuki's Destiny. Will be gating in near. It's a little too close for comfort. Gets poked down by Perks and his Sand Soldiers. The Baron is at around 3,000 HP. Can Impaler pull off the steal against Maxlord? They're stopping the damage onto Baron. Trying to zone them away. Smitty J is dropping low. Maxlord has to jump away using his Chrono Break. Impaler now starts off this Baron. I'm not sure about this one. Everyone's so low in this fight, but Gamers 2 maybe a little bit lower. It will be Impaler getting the Baron this time around. So Jesse was not able to steal it. A 2-1 over to, in fact, 2-0 over to Ex Nihilo, and Ex Nihilo secure the Baron. What is going on in this game? What
is this game right now? Because these teams are just... The decision-making around objectives is just really weird at this point. Gamers 2 decided to 50-50 the Baron. They get it to half health, and they're in a spot that they probably could disengage. They probably could look to turn, but they kind of half keep damaging, half turn themselves away, and that's the dangerous point when doing objectives like that, is if you are not fully committed as a team, you can't expect the other team to just go, hey, they're kind of like half doing it. Let's just not do anything about it. So take another look at this. Look, Perks is around the side not dealing damage to the Baron. They're not spiking it down. Maxlord goes back in. Jesse is not actually doing anything here and just gets himself out of the pit. So many of the escape abilities have been used by Gamers 2 that they have already foregone this Baron at this point. Maxlord steps forward. He is not going to be able to get that Baron because of how many people from Ex Nihilo are around. And there's no way you can securely take that Baron at that point. They didn't commit to the fight. They didn't commit to the Baron. And they lose it after just grabbing the game from Ex Nihilo before.
You cannot be indecisive when you're in the Baron pit, because Baron will continue to kill you while Ex Nihilo just stand there and laugh at you. And Gamers 2, again, just allowing Ex Nihilo back into the game. But we've seen this from both teams where they have a stranglehold over the game, but a poor decision has capitalized on the opposing team, which is basically just handed to them on a silver platter. But both teams are doing it. So we're seeing this back and forth game where each team is being like, no, after you, I insist.
I mean, this is what happened yesterday. The team's just back and forth on the lead, and it was all through decision-making. Ex Nihilo want to fight.
Well, they get Smitty J, but Crazy Cats gets hooked in, and he'll be going down for the pleasure. There's another 1-for-1. Diving an inner turret at this stage of the game. Morsu now chasing after Perks, and he's just caught out by himself. Godzuki used the gate and the Destiny to get in range, and just needs a way to get in range now. Perks jumps over the wall. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, everyone's duking it out. Impaler is by himself. Maxlord will come in. Morsu now chasing down Perks as well. Managed to get him all the way. Tries to glide to safety, but won't get it. The horse is greater than the bird.
Okay, League of Legends 101.
Don't chase it.
Okay, 102. Don't engage like that in the bottom lane, when you have no visibility really on the enemy team, you know through all these wards that they are not in the lower jungle area. You've had enough in the top jungle as well, and you have a Twisted Fate that you just used and you know they're running to the lane. Don't engage 3 versus 4 while 2 people are on the other side of the map killing the Azir. The trade is roughly even for the 2. I mean, they lost 2 on the side of Ex Nihilo, but again they get slowed down now. There is so many weird decisions. There are so many weird decisions, if I get my grammar correct, from these 2 teams right now. This should be an easy dragon to take, but if it's anything like the other 4 in this game, probably isn't going to be that straightforward.
No, it will not, Stress. Let's see how this one unfolds. Impaler will be getting hooked in. That's their smite, but it doesn't matter. It will go over to Corki regardless. Smitty comes in looking for a Nara ultimate to come in. Gets the wallop down. Morsu zoning the backline and will be onslaughting of shadows back into his own team. Maxwell will be using the Chrono Break to keep himself alive. Godzuki on the outskirts of the fight, putting down the poke. There's the slide, the glide, the Emperor's Divide, and gets the kill onto Godzuki. Not quite. He'll be taken down himself. Crazy Caps, though, gets hooked in by Hybrid, but they don't want any of this Corki right now. The 1-for-1 trade so far, but Morsu, he's back in the fight. This has gone on for so long. Comes in with the home guard, but he's locked down by the sheer amount of CC. Impaler now trying to get the damage onto Smitty as he escapes. The barrel will not land, but Morsu, he's saying, I've got this. He'll take down the annoying Gnar, and that was a 5-for-1 over to Ex Nihilo.
Ex Nihilo didn't use their engage tools to start the fight. They re-engage with their globals that Gamers 2 didn't really anticipate at that point. Perks went so aggressive with a really cool looking Tokyo Drift style kind of like around the river play. Looked great, but it put himself in a very dangerous situation, and you can see how much damage Crazy Caps had. Now Ex Nihilo can actually get themselves a couple more turrets on the board. They get the inhibitor down and can look to back away at this point. Ex Nihilo, dare I say, have control of the game.
For now.
For now.
Let's look at that fight. It starts off with Impaler getting hooked.
Okay, so this isn't too big of a problem by the fact they've already got the dragon at this point, and Impaler gets himself away. Morsu going through the front door and out through the side is kind of like a really weird turn of events. He tried to just manually get himself into the fight here. Here's the slide play out of Perks to try and annihilate Godzuki, but it wasn't enough damage, and Crazy Caps kind of had all the damage he needed. It's at this point, teleport is already coming through from Morsu, and this is the key factor. No, he doesn't have his ultimate, but he does have Twisted Fate coming in from the side here as well to set this one up as Twisted Fate appears into the mid lane, takes out Jesse. Rocket takes out Max Law, and from this, it's all she wrote for Gamers 2, but man, that was a very weird team fight. Gamers 2 were not expecting the re-engage.
So where did Ex Nihilo go from here? It is 1 minute until the Baron. No doubt that will be the next catalyst for the next fight. And the blue buff is being taken by Godzuki in preparation for that. And the vision control and the vision war is now ensuing. Ex Nihilo look like they have the upper hand in that one. Smitty J split pushing in the bottom lane in full knowledge that Morsu used his teleport in that last fight. Smitty J still has his own, so they're going to have the advantage there if they start posturing around this Baron.
Perks is finally looking towards that Zhonya's Hourglass, though. So is going to look to keep himself alive longer in these fights. He certainly needs it at this point. He really tough fight for him after that Emperor's Divide play.
Yeah, like Perks does survive until like the end of the fight, but never has like the Zhonya, so he can survive the last little bit. And it's usually Morsu who's the one killing him with like a last E, a last ultimate, something just to finish him off. So hopefully with that Zhonya's Hourglass when it's completed, he'll last a little bit longer, or maybe to the end of the fight. But these fights have been going either way. This has been an extremely bloodthirsty game. 45 kills in 38 minutes. 6 towers to 5. Lots of objectives traded back and forth.
It's been a messy game.
Oh yeah,
a very messy game when it comes to macro level play. Micro level, there have been some pretty big plays when you look at it. Perks' play just then. We've seen steals. We've seen, trades go the way that perhaps you wouldn't expect them to. But on a macro level, the decision-making from these two teams is kind of showing you why they are in the bottom half of the Challenger standings right now. I guess Gamers 2 actually aren't, if you'll excuse me. They are a 4-on-1, so maybe it's an uncharacteristic blip from Gamers 2, but honestly, this will be a game to watch back and look at the fights that teams chose.
Yes, yes indeed. Impaler does get a death sentence before he jumps over the wall. Maxlor aggressively chrono breaking into the enemy team, going for this one-on-one against Crazy Cap, and Crazy Caps emerges victorious. Hybrid over the wall will be trying to escape. Jesse does manage to get out of the CEC with a Quicksilver Sash, but there comes the gate, there comes the Destiny, and Jesse will be going down. That's a 4-0. Smitty J is the only surviving member. He's coming into Meganar form, but I'm not sure if he can defend this.
Again, Perks gets taken out to start the fight, and it's all that Ex Nihilo have to do in these engages. Remove the damage threat and remove everything that Gamers 2 can do in these fights. That is going to be Ex Nihilo picking up their first game of the split.
Well, Smitty J is in Mega form, though, and he's trying to do something about this, but he's just getting CC to infinity. Does get the 5-man Gnar ult, but if only he had a team, then he would be able to do something about that. Ex Nihilo get the first win of the summer split in the round robin. Their first game up against a 4-1 team of Gamers 2.
It's a good scalp to put on your mantelpiece at that point with the standings, but Ex Nihilo, none of their problems were fixed. I mean, they had a series of good plays. They now can, I guess, to some extent, be happy with this first win. But at the same time, Ex Nihilo looked a little bit rough in that.
Yeah, but both teams did.
Yeah.
And when a game is that messy, I guess that's where Ex Nihilo then come out ahead, because they make these brute force decisions, but because the other team makes a misplay, then just running over your opponent works. But yeah, I completely agree with you. They got the win, but the problems are still there under the surface. In
this game, though, I feel like they had a game plan with the TF into Azir. Or actually, they had the Azir picked up after the TF. So
yes, but he was still looking to kill that target.
Yeah, exactly. It could have been the Ezreal mid. Yeah. So they had a very clear game plan where it's get onto the mid laner or just the carry, blow him up, and continue the engage from there. It worked very well, and when they did get the fights in their favor, it was exactly how it was planned, but honestly, there was a couple of spanners in the works thrown out by Gamers 2.
Yeah, we're going to see one of those as we take a look at this replay. It's the Baron steal at around 24 minutes by Gamers 2. It's just from the Maxlor coming in here.
Yeah, so this is Ex Nihilo just being low, and then a true shot barrage coming through, and Maxlor going huge, jumping over the wall. It's Ex Nihilo. At that point, you could see them. They could have pushed mid lane or done pretty much anything else on the map. I think the Baron was probably the wrong call, knowing the death timers on that. Credit to Maxlor getting himself in there, recognizing that it was the wrong call by Ex Nihilo. So, I mean, there's that. The other side of the coin is, you can get away with a bad call if nobody punishes you. But Maxlor did it multiple times this game, punishing Ex Nihilo.
But that summarizes the game pretty much. A team making a misplay, which is then capitalized on by the opposing team. And I believe we have another replay as we have the bus steal coming in from Maxlor. Is around 32 minutes into this game.
Yeah, so this is, as you're saying, this is the second engage of the fight. The other point we'll touch on in just a second. This was the extended Dragon fight later on where Gamers 2 actually end up getting ace. This is the weird one where we're watching for the re-engage here. And you can see Godzuki gets forced all the way down and out of the fight, but isn't finished when it comes to his impact on the game, because Crazy Caps, there's so much focus drew them back. Morsu buys even more time for Godbro to get himself back into this fight. And look, he appears by Jesse in the top left-hand side of your screen. Easy pick up there. Smitty J is easy pick off for Morsu as well. So at this point, Morsu's TPs, they actually were pretty on point. One of the big talking points we'd had was, does he adapt as a player? Is he just somebody that likes to split push? I would hazard a guess to say this game he seemed to fix a fair few of the issues that he's had.
I would also say that Ex Nihilo have pretty good in teamfight mechanics.
Right.
Because there was good use of Destiny, good use of just abilities in general, but I've never felt that's been an area where Ex Nihilo have suffered.
No.
It's the fights that they've gone for have been bad before they even started. And no matter how well they play that team fight, they just lose because it was a bad fight in the start.
Yeah, I think that's I think that's fairly fair to say. Especially with regards to how much experience they have, you would expect perhaps them to take slightly better trades. So in that game, they had two big objectives taken away from them. The Baron by Maxlow and Jesse taking away the Dragon. That has got to be a little disheartening for Impeli, you'd have to think.
At the same time, he did steal a dragon away from Maxlow.
He did.
Yeah,
I guess turnabout's fair play.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. But either way, Ex Nihilo did pick up their first win, so can't take that one away from them here. But with just one more game to go on this week's European Challenger Series with Overclockers UK and Now Esports. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back right after this.